Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. My next guest is a ring bearer, and that means that he is a 2005 graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. I'm sure he wears his ring with pride because they all do. Greg Washington is a combat veteran, an influencer, a motivator, an innovator, and the list goes on and on. He has a Bachelor of Science in Engineering Management with a concentration in Mechanical Engineering from, again, the United States Military Academy. He's also earned an Executive Master's of Business Administration at Tulane University with a concentration in Finance. Greg Washington, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you. So you have quite the story. Let's talk about you first, and then you are about to embark, and you are embarking on a just massive, massive journey. We are super excited for it. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I am Greg Washington, originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Graduated from West Point, and I was at the academy when 9/11 happened. I was a freshman, and so we knew that we were going to war once we graduated. And I call my class the true class of 9/11 because as freshmen, we had the option to leave the academy and not have any obligation or any service time. And I like to tip my hat off to my classmates because the majority of us chose to stay. And so knowing that we were going to forward deployed upon graduation, it was an amazing experience to be a leader during that time. So
absolutely,
I commissioned as an infantry officer.
Greg.
I deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. And while I was over there, I ended up losing two of my best friends to combat, Emily Perez and Scotty Pace. And so, and also I got hurt myself. And so my transition out the military was very tough. Tough to the point where I fell into a depression and almost committed suicide. And so if it wasn't for my little cousin calling me right before it happened, I think things would have turned out differently. I might not have been here. And so that gave me a moment to pause and to think about what I had going on and where I was at in life. And so the thing that I wanted to express or to get clear is, yeah, I was a leader and my transition was this hard. And all I could think about was, well, all of these other soldiers and veterans and service members that are out there that are suffering in silence. So I walked away from a 6-figure job and I started this nonprofit called the House of Man. And we are hosting a 1,800-mile walk from Mississippi all the way up to West Point, New York. And we'll be stopping in Fayetteville, North Carolina at Fort Bragg, that's my hometown, and also in D.C. in honor of suicide awareness. I strongly believe with this campaign, if we can come together and make enough noise throughout this walk, throughout this time frame, that we could curb the veteran suicide rate. Because currently 22 veterans die a day, and that number is increasing. There have been more veterans to die from suicide than those veterans that were killed in Vietnam. And so I just look at myself and I said, at that early age, if I was so willing to sacrifice my health, to sacrifice love, and to sacrifice you, I'll be willing to give it up one more time if I could save a life. And so,
well, Greg, I appreciate you sharing your story and not just learning from your own experiences, but so importantly, teaching others. And I know you just heard, our last segment with Sabrina Runbeck, where we talked about, folks that, that might look different from us. And, in the business community, it's an environment. And I know you started Guard Down really with a mission to create a safe, culturally aware community for people of diverse backgrounds, find resources and support also. And your service has certainly continued even out of uniform, and that is absolutely huge. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just so excited by what you're doing, and as a avid runner and walker, frankly, that's what I do all the time. I'm just enamored with your mission and your plan to for the 1,800-mile walk to honor friends, again, killed in combat and those suffering from trauma and grief in silence. And it's so important that we share it with our audience. So, again, I'm chatting with Greg Washington, combat veteran, a New Orleans resident who's departing from Mount Bayou, Mississippi, and over the next 65 days, walking nearly 1,800 miles to West Point, New York. So when does that journey kick off?
Yeah, the walk kick off at the end of this month on April 30th. I'll start in Mount Bayou, Mississippi, and make my way to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then on up to D.C. and West Point. There'll be 25 stops along the way, and at each stop, we'll be hosting these mental health rallies to connect communities to local and state resources when it comes to mental health. And it is just one of those things where being able to build a community of support and of accountability and of encouragement, I think is key.
Absolutely. It's an inspiring journey. And I know our listeners will want to find ways to support you. Interestingly, the story of those friends that you just talked about, you talked about Emily Perez and Scotty Pace. Perez was the highest ranking African-American female cadet in West Point's history, and Pace was a combat pilot, and the Academy actually named the ceremony after him following his passing. So, I mean, you are carrying on their legacy in a major way. And Greg, how can people support you? How can people make a difference? Obviously, you talk a lot about the challenges, and as our listeners know, I'm in uniform and proudly serving. And I have already, in my short time in the Army, I've already witnessed and known people that have died due to suicide and due to depression and mental health. What can people do to certainly support veterans, support your walk, but also make a difference in their own surroundings?
Yes. So to connect with me on my page, gregcwashington.com. We have a Walk to Honor page on there where you can donate to the campaign, to the cause, and you can also sign up to come walk with me or attend one of the rallies, in one of the areas near you. And so the other part that I would tell you is, honestly, we got to do more than just care. We got to show up. That one phone call changed my life. And so I encourage everyone to check in on About a Buddy whenever you can. And for those that are suffering in silence and dealing with trauma and grief, you got to have a plan. Know your 3 battle buddies that you can call on. Know your mental health provider or your counselor, and also know the crisis hotline. And so being able to have a plan, going into whatever situation that you're dealing with, you got to know who your tribe and your support team is. And if you don't have one, come connect with me. We'll be there for you.
That's incredible. Again, I've been chatting with Greg Washington, who, again, fascinating, business backgrounds, but more important than what, Greg, what you have done is what you are doing right now, and walking 1,800 miles in honor of Emily Perez, Scotty Pace, and in making a difference. And we always challenge, I have my other podcast called We All Serve. I know, Greg, you host a podcast as well. And certainly we have those conversations and hope to, pay it forward and make a difference. And you are certainly all about inclusion and all about education. So, Greg, one more time, how can people learn more about you, the walk, and getting involved?
Yeah. So the webpage again is gregcwashington.com. You can connect with us on Facebook. My podcast is called Guards Down. We help tell the stories of those wounded healers that have been through trauma and grief hoping that that conversation can help motivate, inspire, or drop some jewels for someone to help fight another day. And so look for us on Facebook at Guards Down or Greg C. Washington in the House of Men for the walk. And you'll be able
thank
to
you
connect
so much,
with
Greg.
this community. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to squeeze in a quick break. More on Get Down to Business when we return.